Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Live from Studios B3. I'm Spencer Brinkerhoff III. We are returning in our series, and we're interviewing the Star Wars Celebration artist. And today on our show for Celebration Orlando 2017, we're talking with Jason Christman. I said it wrong. Christman. I just asked you how to say your name properly, and then I said it wrong. Jason, let's bring you in. Now I see your video is there. It's moving around. This is a live show, so everything is perfect and in sync, right?
There's no wrong way to say my name either. It's okay.
Hey,
I've heard it all.
Hey, you, don't come late for dinner. All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, correct me. Is this your second celebration or your third one? Where are we at
This is number three.
Three.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to doing the celebrations, you've also been working with Acme for a while now, doing some of your minimalist art pieces, right?
Yep, I've been doing that since 2011-ish. So 5 going on 6 years doing Star Wars art.
Well, let's jump in really quick and look at your new piece for Star Wars 2017 in Orlando. I forget what this one is called. Do we have a title on this one?
It's called basically what it looks like, Bounty Hunters.
There we go. Bounty Hunters. So lined up in a row, can you name them all off? You know them from off the top of your head?
Sure,
right?
yeah. You have Dengar.
Yeah.
And IG-88.
Right.
Boba Fett. Bosk. Forlom.
Yep.
Who's a droid, by the way. I learned that recently. I did not realize that. And Zuckuss.
Right. So, I'm sorry, you were going to say something about Zuckuss?
Nothing other than he's, like a larvae kind of weird creature, but yeah.
See, and I've always thought that Forlom was some sort of like a 3PO knockoff. Now, when you were putting this piece together, did you go through and you said that you learned that Forlom was a droid, but did you learn anything more about these characters' backstories or anything like that in the creation of this piece?
Yeah, and I do that with every piece I do. Even though I do minimalist type of stuff, I go into massive detail and who they are and where they came from. And Forlom, I read, was a protocol droid that reprogrammed himself.
Really? So how
became a bounty hunter.
Now,
I don't know.
Now, here's the thing is that you okay, so we have this whole debate or this sort of like a situation where we have our legends stories and then we have our actual sort of like the canon stories. But I mean, these these bounty hunters all showed up in The Empire Strikes Back, and as such they're all canon characters, but their backgrounds may be sort of like up for reinterpretation. Is that right?
Yeah, I would assume that over the years they're going to be modified from what people remember slightly as far as their backstories go. But that's okay.
Now, I was as I pulled up your artwork and I had it sort of like on full screen. I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger on my screen while I'm looking at it here. I did not notice at the first pass is just over Bosk's shoulder in the back we have Vader.
Yep, dead center, really. I mean, right between Boba and Bosk. We have Vader at the Death Star, the Star Destroyer bay windows across that we're familiar with. So my concept piece, when I submitted it, did not have anything in the background. But I really wanted to add more detail to that area. And I think I pulled it off, everyone loves Vader, and, this could be, a group selfie maybe
So
taken right after Vader talks to them all, or
nice.
something.
So let's see. We've seen in Star Wars Rebels that some of the Inquisitors, and especially the sister, I think she was the seventh sister, she had a miniaturized like probe droid, and I just imagine that that's the one that was like had the camera in it. That's where
Mhm.
they were taking their selfie from. Is that mini probe droid was out there for that picture?
Yeah, that's a great concept actually. I should do a behind the scenes shot where the droid is maybe holding its limb out and taking a shot with them. Um,
That would be awesome. So then, when you're putting together a piece like this, I mean, what kind of things went into sort of the consideration of this piece? So we're looking at Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017. It's the 40th anniversary of A New Hope, but you've chosen to go with a bounty hunters from The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, was that part of the process? And you kind of went, well, a lot of people are going to be doing A New Hope. I guess I'll do something different. Or how
I
did this piece come
was
into play there?
I was worried about that actually, and I had just done last summer a three original trilogy minimalist character series, and that also had Boba Fett in it and Vader and some other ones, but they're all individual. But I started working on a Tatooine silhouette at first, and I loved it so much, I ended up doing one that matches it for Hoth and Endor, and so I couldn't submit three for Celebration,
Right.
so I had to come up with another concept. And like you said, I felt like I was afraid a lot of people were going to do 40th anniversary type related stuff, so I went with some of my favorite characters and what I would hope would be a lot of other people's favorite characters,
Right.
and something I hadn't done before, which were a little more uh, less known characters. Because everyone knows all the bounty hunters,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they don't get much screen time, obviously. So I thought it'd be nice to just kind of line them all up and put them in their poses as we remember them, in the order we remember them.
Right.
Uh, my favorite part about doing this print was the lights on the sides of the print.
So that you're talking about the lights that are the sort of the pill shapes that are part of the Death Star and
Mhm.
the Star Destroyer, sort of like wall shapes. Those lights.
Yeah, the lights you'd find in all the different Imperial bases and ships and so forth. It's one of the most iconic things when you think of the Empire
Right.
and uh, that you see everywhere. And so that's what's giving off the silhouettes is these powerful lights behind them.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So in most of your minimalist pieces, you don't have an actual light source that's in the image, and so as a result, this piece is different in that way. Now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, a lot of my minimalist stuff have evolved over the years, and so this is the last series I was talking about before. They all have some kind of light source now built into them.
Gotcha.
I used lightsabers and Han Solo Frozen in Carbonite's glowing side piece as a light source in my last few prints. So I just been evolving that kind of nature of my minimalist stuff.
Awesome. Now with those light sources, we're also seeing the lens flares. So with your art style, and you started with this really minimalistic, and now you're adding the light source. Then we're getting flares. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to just being fully rendered, right? Is that the next step?
I think I've been holding back, okay, but I think I might have to animate this stuff.
Oh, is that
It's
what it
it's
is?
it's yeah. I think that's the next step. Of course, I can't necessarily sell that on paper,
Right.
um,
Right.
but I do motion graphics as for a living, and So I've been dying to turn these silhouettes into moving objects for a while now. So
Excellent. So, well, let's talk about that for a little bit. So, we've got these silhouettes created, and coming from sort of like a motion graphics background, are these all vector? What process are you going through to actually make these characters, and what applications are you using?
well, I start like every other artist does with, sketches on napkins and whatever papers lying around, and when I have ideas, and uh, uh, from there, when I sit down at the computer to enhance these thoughts, I immediately just start digging up um, inspiration of, and in this particular print, I dug up as many pictures of and watched the scene a million times
Oh,
of
that's
the
the
bounty
worst.
hunters.
It's the worst part of this sort of like job, if you can call it a job, is having to constantly watch Star Wars over and
Yeah,
over
right.
again,
God,
right?
it,
That's
it's
the
I know
worst.
life is so tough sometimes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then from there, I bring some of my favorite poses into Illustrator, create vector clean art silhouettes of all of them. I probably did close to a dozen different silhouettes of every single one of these characters before I was, and then played around with them and moved them and tried which one looks best next to each other.
Right.
I put them in the same order we see them in the film. I wanted to keep that linear. And uh, Boba Fett, because I had just recently done a silhouetted Boba Fett print,
Yeah.
I did a lot of these because I wanted him to still have that same pose he had on the ship, but I didn't want it to look like my last one that just
Yeah.
came out. So I mean,
Like you just cut out that last silhouette and you're like, okay, I've got to do a new print. I guess I'll just put this same silhouette
yeah,
in.
and my concept print actually had the same silhouette.
Oh,
I
you
did
really?
because I didn't have time to make a new one yet, so I said I'll just stick
Now,
the old one there.
Now I wanted to sort of like redirect about the silhouettes a little bit. So coming from a motion graphics background and an animation background, let's talk about the importance of a silhouette. So a lot of people will sort of like look at a character or a scene, and they'll go, oh yeah, I recognize that character. They'll see Indiana Jones, and he's just standing there in silhouette. They totally recognize him. But if you just were to take a screenshot, of the character and then trace around that and black it out, does that make a good silhouette? How do you really, what makes a good silhouette, and how does it work sort of like from an animation perspective as well?
Uh, yeah, from an animation perspective, it's gotta have the components and parts, movable first of all.
Right?
If I did a silhouette of someone just standing there folding their arms, uh, it it doesn't leave much for me to do with their body,
Right. So
So
So like even Bosk is
mhm.
standing there with his arms maybe folded, but they're not folded directly across his chest. And as a result, we've got some bulk out to the sides, and it creates the character, and you can tell that
Mhm.
Boba Fett is sort of turned 3/4 a little bit, so we get an interesting angle, like jutting out the side from his shoulder piece. All of these things go into play. I'm even looking at Boba Fett's rocket launcher behind his back. So I like to imagine that you were putting that together, and in the real world, perhaps in the real world, with Boba Fett's rocket lines up directly behind his head, and you wouldn't see it like that. But if you do that as a silhouette, everything gets muddied together. So you tweak and turn things to make sure there's that sliver of light coming through between the
Mhm.
pieces to help define those outlines.
Yeah, and this original Boba Fett silhouette I tweaked so many times because the helmet just it 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 bothered me the way that it was turned and the right side of it. And it's funny because even my kid says this to me. He's like, Dad, it's a shadow. Why do you keep messing with that? And I'm like, you don't understand.
It's not a
This
shadow.
little edge on the right sticks out too far, and it makes the
Right.
whole thing weird, and I hate
Right.
it. And the whole thing's ruined. But
Well, it's storytelling. In its essence, it's storytelling. We look at sort of the opening introduction to the Pixar movie Up, and we see that there's not hardly a word said, and we get this whole story, this couple and their story all together, and they didn't say a single thing, but they said everything. So the silhouette has to be character. It has to show armor and toughness and all of these things, but it can't just be a shadow. That doesn't work right.
yeah, and it was a tough call on some of these things that I did. Where Bosk, I show his eyes and teeth. It's like, why did I do that? Well, his teeth were obvious because that's what makes him so much different than everyone else.
Right.
But the teeth alone just didn't work.
Yeah.
So I tried nostrils, and then and I settled on the eyes. But you would think, well, if we're talking eyes, maybe Forlom or Zuka should have had the eyes
Because they're so big. They're
because they're
those
huge.
bug eyes,
Yeah,
right?
right. But the angle I have them at didn't really work well doing that.
Right.
It's like, well, what it would look like one eye was missing. Then I'd have to create just a plain line around it, and then now it looks like a cartoon, and it's like, I couldn't win. Dengar was even harder.
Well,
He actually has nothing.
Oh yeah.
I didn't add anything to him.
No eyes, no mouth, no wrappings. Yeah. He's just there.
Yeah. I tried a wrapping opening. I tried his scar. I tried maybe some stuff on his chest plate, but I went with nothing really. I said,
and the process of taking the piece and then stripping it away to its like bare bones minimum is really a process, and that's what makes it art. Now, as we were sort of like zooming around and looking at the pictures and really sort of like examining these silhouettes, something else that I noticed in here above Vader and above the door, we've got our Arabesh up there, right? So you've got all of the characters. I'm not very good at reading my Arabesh, so I'm going to assume that those are all the characters' names, right?
Yeah, exactly as we had pronounced them for the most part. I played around with putting their names on it, like they were just their actual names.
Yeah.
And then putting the words bounty hunter across, the page and stuff. And because I love typography, and usually a lot of stuff that I do has a lot of typography in it. But the past year or two, I've been really trying to focus on more minimal, and I've been trying to take away from it. But I showed this to a bunch of other artists that we all keep in touch online and stuff, and I offered up some suggestions. I said, "What do you guys think, text or no text?" And Russell Walks, of all people, said, "Try it in Arabic," and I was like, "Oh, duh!
Yeah.
Why?" And I did, and I added a little bit of detail to it, so it has a slight engraved feel to them, and they're not just text on, just black text on a blue background.
A little bit of
Probably
sort of an
hard to tell
embossing.
from online, but,
yeah, it's a little rough, but yeah, I can get a sense of it. Yeah.
The details there in the print, and yeah, I fell in love with it. So basically, it's almost like a little, I don't know, memorial for them,
right?
Right,
and I think that in that one of those early drafts that we were talking about is the words or the title of the piece where it was really big right in the center, Bounty Hunters, and that was the feedback was, let's not sort of the text sort of distracted from all of this work that you did with the silhouettes, but then adding that in Arabesh made it foreign, it made it sort of like in universe, and that was a wonderful. I missed Russ's suggestion on that. That was awesome. I'm glad I saw that in the print here.
Yeah, that was great. The names I had originally, they were down below their feet, and then the word big bounty hunter was up above, and he said, "Flip them,
Yeah.
Arabish," and I tried it, and I said, "He nailed it. He nailed it."
Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
know if I'd call it mine anymore. I mean, he nailed it.
You know what? But
But
that's the thing is that a lot of times, I think that as artists, we end up working in sort of like this seclusion, and we don't really have the opportunities to interact and engage with other people. We have sort of like a hermit mentality, and you know that's for good and for bad. But when we all get together, you know, sometimes when we present something, when we throw our artwork out on Facebook and stuff, people just go, "Wow, that's wonderful! I love it! Great job!" And then, you know, it takes sort of like a smaller community of those trusted friends to say, "Hey, did you think about doing this?" You know, or how about this? And I remember like having my computer file open and getting ready to submit a concept and throwing it into the group and go, "Hey guys, what do you think?" And suddenly it was like, "Did you try flipping this? And what if you move this?" And because I've got things in that animation mentality in the layers, I make the changes, and it kind of came back, well, "Oh no, you had it right the first time." You know, so I
Yeah,
mean,
sometimes you go full circle. Yeah, sometimes you do. You know, since having kids
right,
and they're in school and all that kind of stuff, I've been working from home for many years now, and my life has been, you know, in and out. I've either lived where I've worked, or I've worked where I've lived, and I've been
that sounds like some
self-employed
late
forever.
nights, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so now I work from home,
Right,
and for the past 4 or 5 years actually, but I crave being able to look over someone's shoulder and have someone look over my shoulder and just bounce some ideas off each other. And
yeah,
it's you know, and I'm sure, you know, down the road I'll probably get another studio again, and I'll bring, you know, the boys club back, and we'll all be doing great stuff together, and then I'll crave missing, you know, just hanging out at home and being alone, you know.
right, right.
But yeah, right now, you know, our little artist group that we have has been a major big help for me.
Yeah,
So
it's been wonderful. I mean, my art piece did not get accepted, but I feel like I experimented with something new, and I got lots of feedback, and I mean, I really enjoy that aspect of it as well. Now, with this show being your third time back, you know, you're getting the feel for things a little bit more, right? The art show is sort of like its own separate beast. You know, it's all fenced off, you know, and you can, the animals are corralled. Wait a second, you've got an interesting reaction to that, you know. I, I remember at Celebration Japan, the fenced off was so sort of like it was so hardcore that people were like just would look from the side of the fence and wouldn't actually come in. So, are you going to be in the corral, you know, or are
I
you
will be in
venturing
the
out?
corral,
Okay,
and I keep praying every, you know, the past, you know, well, I haven't been in it very long, but last year I prayed that the corral was gone.
right.
Uh, this year I'm praying again that the corral is gone. Last year it was even worse than Anaheim because we had half the space that we did in
Oh,
Anaheim.
oh, really? Oh my goodness.
And there's my text message. I don't know if you heard
Set for stun.
that.
What are you, like a
Yeah.
Star Wars guy or something?
Yeah, I got a couple things laying around here and there. But
So the corral it was smaller last time, and
yeah, it's smaller. And
what
you
is
know,
it about
they
the
should make it
corral?
an artist alley. They
Yeah.
should make it an alley. It
So
should be open on both
so
ends.
that people can pass all the way through. It's a
Yeah.
destination. So so what you're saying is that people walk in, they do a circle, and then they end up like walking out or being stuck at the cash registers at the end there, right? So
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, for the most part. But you know, I mean, they really. I mean, they don't. Comic Cons didn't just make an artist alley and
right,
for no reason. You know
right,
what I mean? There's a
yeah,
lot of thought that goes into that. You know what I mean? And let's use that thought. And even though our artist alley is only, you know, less than 30 people,
right,
you know, it makes it even more special,
yeah,
right? So let's make that happen. Let's make it all equal billing. Let's
right,
make sure that lots of people can come in and don't feel like they're afraid that, oh, what's this special area? I don't want to, you know what I mean?
And I think that that's what it is that there's so many things going on at Celebration. There's lines to go in to see the celebrities. There's lines to get autographs and take pictures. There's lines for all of these things. And sometimes you'll bump into something and you're like, why is this sectioned off? Maybe I can't go in there, right? So one remedy to this is to check out, the artwork online, and when you see the artwork, you go, you know what, I like that. I'm going to buy it now before I even get to the show. So when I do get there, I can just go in and enjoy the environment instead of having to deal with another thing. So I imagine that your artwork is going to be part of, or is currently part of, the pre-sales online. Is that correct?
Yep, it is part of the Acme pre-sale.
So
started.
Tell us what size is your artwork and what price is it? And I think that's at Dark Ink Art is where you can find that, or we can go to at Jason W. Christman and follow you on Twitter there and check it out. But tell us the size and the price for your art piece.
The size this year is 13 by 19. I went smaller than I have in the past. For a few reasons. One, I'm trying to make the cost a little better for everyone. It's only $45 this year, where
Okay.
I've always been over 50 every year. And two, one of the major complaints I've gotten over the years was for reasons not buying my print, even though they wanted it, was they didn't have the wall space.
Yeah.
And I look around my office at the moment and I'm thinking, you know what? The only ones I have hanging up right now are 13 by 19 prints.
There you go.
What's up with that?
There you go.
So
you know what? Sometimes
yeah.
you're your best audience, right? I like this. I'm going to make this. I like this. I would buy it, right?
That's how I work. You got to please yourself first. If you don't like it, you can't convince other people to like it,
right.
I guess. But
and one of the things that I would do also is that I would look at stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and I'd look and see what sort of frames that are there and the styles that are framed, and that way people can sort of like grab the art and easily put it into a frame and have it ready to go up on the wall without a lot of custom matting or other big expenses.
And 13 by 19 is a good size because you have so many options. You could go just 13 by 19 frame. You could go a 12 by 18 frame.
Right.
You if you do have the wall space, you could mat it, and there's plenty of those options as well. So it really, I think, lends itself to a little bit more freer, subconsciously help people make the decision to buy it.
Right. Well, I mean, if it costs a little bit less and it's a little bit smaller, then it makes it easier to transport all of these things.
Transportation is another big deal. Yeah.
Now, let's see. So, a question I hadn't thought of asking some of the other artists is, how about with that question of transportation? What's the paper stock like? Is this a flat pack or is this a tubed sort of like art piece? Can you roll this thing, or
you will be able to roll it. I did a test the other day, and it rolled just great for a 3-inch tube, diameter tube. Anything smaller than that, you're kind of pushing the boundaries of it. It is a cover stock print, but it is completely rollable. I will be bringing 13 by 19 clear bag sleeves for each and every single print that someone buys. So if they want to keep it flat, I will help protect it the best I can.
And those are clear bags. They're not sort of like top loaders, so they're not hard at all. They're just a bag to store it. Okay, that's good, because I mean, listen, if people are going to come in and they're going to spend $45 to buy your artwork and they value it enough to purchase it, then it shows a lot of care that you're coming prepared to make sure that artwork is taken care of. So that's a really great
and
value
to be honest
add.
with you, I would bring backing boards for them too if I thought I could make weight on my luggage to the airport, but I know there's no way I could.
We'll talk about that as soon as we hang up. I might have an idea for you to help out on that one.
Oh, okay.
So with that, In the art show, Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017, Jason's art piece is $45, and you can get it there. You can buy it online now. Make sure it's safe. In addition to this art piece, because we're able to have licensed artwork there, do you have leftovers or some of your other art pieces or some of the artwork that you've done for Acme that is also going to be there? Do you have some stuff that's outside of Star Wars, or is most of it Star Wars? What do you got?
Excuse me. I'm bringing nothing but Star Wars. Actually, I have done some stuff for Firefly and Serenity.
Okay.
I did actually a cousin print, I call it, to my first Celebration print, the Falcon for Hire, which was the advertisement for the Millennium Falcon. Right. I did a cousin print to that for the ship Firefly? Serenity. Yeah.
Nice.
With an advertising style thing for that. And that's gone over very well. But I will be bringing my 3 brand new prints that debuted last summer for the original trilogy character series with the lens flares. And then I always make sure, and I hide it away so I don't do anything with them, I will be bringing 10 prints from London's show with me. So.
Oh wait, now those are only 10 of those are bringing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And those are 18 by 19. That was the escaping the Death Star prints.
Right. Right.
And I am questioning bringing my 2 Falcon for Hire prints that I have left.
I know what you're.
That I saved for myself, but
I know what you're saying. You get down to those last ones, and you're like, listen, this is a limited edition print run. That means that after those 250 are sold, there's a couple of AP floating around there, but those are the artist proofs. They're not, the numbered ones are gone, and once they're gone. They're gone, and so yeah, I know that sort of like tension of I want to hold on to this thing.
I actually held on to 1 numbered print,
okay,
and then 1 AP print.
Okay,
that's all I have left. I held on to for as many as I could for as long as I could. I even told a few people that they couldn't buy them at certain times in my life, but. Celebration is, it's a celebration,
right?
And people who there, if it's something that they want, I know it's going to be going to a really good home.
Yeah.
And if the price is right, I'm willing to sell just about everything at my table, right?
All right.
So
that's awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and your work to share with us a little bit more about the process for making this piece. I put your Twitter up there. Is there any other way that people might be able to get a hold of you or follow your work?
Yeah, my Twitter, I've got, a very poor amount of followers. I'm on there like once every 6 months.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not hey, I just recently got on there. I was like, oh, yeah, look at that. But I Instagram most often.
Okay.
And my Instagram is Star Wars Artist of all things.
Oh, hey.
It was available at the time I got it. I'm obviously not the only Star Wars artist in the world, but that's what I get. That's what I got. I stuck with it, and and so that's me.
And a lot of those Instagrams will include your Stormtrooper minifig. Did he have a name? I don't remember if he was a specific TK or.
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question.
Oh, really?
To tell you the truth, yeah.
Okay.
That's a very good question. Now I'm going to spend the rest of the night wondering what I'm going to name this guy.
And wait a second, he's a Star Wars character that keeps showing up consistently on your Instagram feed, so he's got to have a backstory too, and then there's going to be a Wikipedia entry, all right? So
now, yeah.
Backstory, Jabba's Cantina, Jabba's Cantina, Jabba's sail barge in the cantina, all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Well, I'll add it to his little book here that I have. So
right. I love that book.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, thank you very much.
He'll definitely be making an appearance. He'll make an appearance.
Awesome. Everyone,
thanks for having me.
Jason's going to be at Star Wars Celebration. You can pre-order his print now. And again, this is Spencer Brinkerhoff at Studios B3. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at sb3.com. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Bye.
SpencerB3.com. I said it wrong.